There was a time you had a group of friends you saw every single week. No invitation needed, no real planning required, just showing up because that's simply what you did. Now, months pass without a word. You keep telling yourself you'll reach out soon. You don't. And somewhere along the way, those easy, effortless friendships just quietly stopped. It's rarely one big fight, one dramatic falling out you could point to and explain. That would almost be easier to carry. Instead, it's a text left on read for a week, then a month, then eventually it's simply not sent at all anymore, until the silence itself becomes its own quiet, unspoken answer. You scroll through old photos sometimes, late at night when you can't sleep. A birthday, a road trip, a wedding where you all danced until your feet actually hurt. You look closely at those familiar faces and realize you haven't spoken to most of them in years. Not because anything happened between you, just life got in the way. Maybe you wonder quietly if you did something wrong somewhere along the line. If you became less interesting, less fun to be around, too busy, too distant, too wrapped up in your own life. You replay old conversations looking for the exact moment it started slipping, and you rarely, if ever, find one clear answer. The group chat that used to buzz constantly all day, every day, now sits quiet for weeks at a time. Someone posts a photo from a vacation. A few hearts appear. No real conversation follows it anymore. You notice this happening in real time and still can't pinpoint exactly when the shift actually began. So here's the question that keeps circling back late at night when it's quiet enough to actually feel it. Why does this keep happening after 50 to people who never once meant to let anyone go? Why do friendships that once felt completely permanent start fading like this quietly, one at a time without warning? Here's the first thing worth truly knowing before anything else. You are nowhere near alone in this experience. This exact quiet fading is one of the most common, least talked about experiences people over 50 go through, and almost nobody ever says it out loud to another living soul. Researchers who spend their careers studying adult friendship describe this exact pattern again and again, across very different lives. People build wide, sprawling social circles in their 20s and 30s, and then, without any single dramatic cause, those circles quietly begin narrowing through midlife and well beyond it. A major analysis of social relationships across the entire adult lifespan, pulling together data from well over 100,000 people across dozens of studies, found the exact same pattern you're feeling right now. Friendship networks expand rapidly early in life, then steadily grow smaller from midlife onward, almost like clockwork. So if you've been quietly blaming yourself late at night, wondering what exactly you did to lose touch with people you once genuinely loved spending time with, the honest, research-backed answer is, in most cases, you probably didn't do anything wrong at all. This isn't a personal failure playing out one friendship at a time, one mistake after another. It's a well-documented, consistent pattern showing up in study after study across different countries, different generations, different income levels, different life circumstances entirely, including, very likely, yours right now. And once you start seeing it that way, something genuinely shifts inside you. The guilt starts to loosen its grip. Because this was never really about who you failed to keep in touch with over the years. It's about something quieter happening underneath in how your mind manages connection itself. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain during this particular stage of life. Psychologists call it socioemotional selectivity theory, a documented shift in how you unconsciously prioritize your time, energy, and attention as your own sense of the future begins to change shape. In your 20s, time feels essentially endless, so your brain casts an intentionally wide net, meeting new people constantly, keeping loose acquaintances around just in case, saying yes to almost every invitation. It's a strategy built specifically for gathering options, not for depth or intimacy. But researchers have found that as people move steadily through midlife, something meaningful changes in how the brain treats time itself. It starts feeling noticeably more finite, more precious, more limited than it once did. And that single internal shift changes almost everything about who you choose to keep close. According to this research, your mind starts actively filtering the people around you, not randomly and not by accident. It begins quietly prioritizing the relationships that feel genuinely emotionally meaningful, while letting the more peripheral, surface-level connections gradually fade into the background of your life. Here's what's genuinely surprising about all of this. The same body of research shows your closest relationships, the 2, 3, maybe 4 people who truly matter to you, tend to stay remarkably stable through this exact stretch of life, even while the wider outer circle keeps shrinking around them. So, it's not that your capacity for friendship itself is fading or weakening with age. It's that your brain has quietly, deliberately shifted from collecting as many people as possible to protecting the small handful who actually make you feel truly understood and seen. And here's the part almost nobody ever tells you. This narrowing isn't a warning sign that something is going wrong inside you. Multiple studies actually suggest it's linked to something going quite right. A documented, measurable rise in emotional well-being as social circles get smaller and more selective. People with smaller, more selective networks after 50 consistently report feeling more genuinely understood, less drained by social obligation, and more authentically close to the people still in their lives. Not despite the shrinking circle around them, but very much because of it. Think honestly about the friendships that actually did survive this whole process. Chances are they aren't the ones built on convenience or simple proximity. They're the ones where you can sit together in silence and it isn't awkward at all, where you never have to perform anything for anyone. That's not an accident of timing or circumstance. That's your mind over many years, quietly deciding these particular people were worth the emotional investment, while gently letting go of the connections that were never truly built to last that deep in the first place. To be fair, researchers are still actively studying exactly why this shift happens the way it does, and not everyone experiences it identically or on the same timeline. Some people maintain wider circles longer, shaped by community, culture, work, or simple circumstance. But the broader pattern is consistent enough across the research that if you felt this fading happen to you personally, it almost certainly isn't a story about your worth as a friend or a person. It's much closer to your mind quietly doing exactly what it's biologically built to do. So what do you actually do with this information now that you have it? You stop mourning every faded group chat like it was some kind of personal failure, and you start looking clearly, honestly, at who's actually still standing there right beside you. The friend who still calls just to check in on you, for no particular reason at all. The one who remembers the small, specific details about your life. The one you can be fully honest with without ever performing anything. Those people aren't the leftovers of a shrinking circle. They're the entire point of it. This doesn't mean you're somehow becoming distant, cold, or hard to reach as a person. It simply means your mind has gotten sharper, more discerning about where real connection actually lives. Instead of spreading itself thin across dozens of people, it barely knew how to keep close. So maybe today isn't really about mourning the friendships that quietly faded away over the years. Maybe it's about picking up the phone for the one friendship that's still there, still waiting. The one your mind, apparently, already carefully decided was worth keeping all along. Because that person you haven't called in a while, the one who crossed your mind just now, statistically speaking, they're probably feeling exactly what you're feeling right this moment. The same quiet wondering, the same missing you're simply too proud to say out loud to anyone. You are not losing your people, one by one, as some kind of quiet defeat. Your mind is simply choosing them more carefully than it ever did before in your life. And that, more than anything else, is a sign of exactly how deeply you're still capable of connecting. If you felt invisible in a room full of people you love, this next part is for you. There are millions of people in their 50s and 60s going through exactly what you're going through. Most of them have never heard it explained this way. That's what this channel is for. Real psychology, honest conversations, no pretending that this chapter of life is simple. If this helped you, subscribe. And if you know someone who needed to hear this today, share it with them.